Hello, 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 and welcome back to ASMR Mimic. Today, I have some gaming triggers for you gamers out there. We're going to be looking at consoles and games and all sorts of fun things. This one is only for the gamers, the gamers. This is gamer ASMR. I don't want to see anybody who's not a gamer in the comments. Don't be talking to me. So, up first, our first trigger is going to be what I consider one of the most underrated consoles ever. Can you guess what it is? It was released by Nintendo. It's a Nintendo console. It's white. And most people don't know it can also play GameCube games. Did you guess correctly? Did you guess correctly? It's the Nintendo Wii. It's the Wii. And if you didn't know, you can plug in your GameCube controllers and play GameCube games. Now you know. Now you know. Now you know. Now you know. Next up is a console that can fit in the palm of your hand. It can fit in your hand. Now this console is again by Nintendo. Now, this console has two kinds of games it can play. It can open up. You can write on this screen. Can you guess? Can you guess? Can you guess what this is? It's the DS Lite. The DS Lite. It can play DS games in the top and Game Boy games in the bottom, but only Game Boy Advance games. Do you remember that nostalgic sound? All right. Next up, we have the controller. This is a Xbox controller. This is my favorite sound on the Xbox controller. right there. It's like the best sound ever. So clicky. Alright, next up, I have for you another system. Now, you may be familiar with some of the sounds this one can make. Okay, next up we have Pokemon. Pokemon Gold. Pokemon Gold. A throwback. And if you didn't like Gold, it's okay because there's also Pokemon Red. If you don't like Pokemon, that's fine. Here's a good recommendation for you if you like scarier games. Scary pixel game. This game is called Signalis. It has really good art. Give it a try. It can be kind of scary, but it's really fun. And I think you might like it. So give it a go. Next up, we have my favorite game ever. This game is on the PS2, but it's been released on hundreds of consoles. Probably every console, except maybe Nintendo. No, wait, they released it on the Switch rather recently. This game came out years ago, almost over 10 years ago, and recently got remade. Can you guess? Can you guess what game is my favorite? Can you guess? Can you guess? My favorite game is Resident Evil 4. I've shown you a lot of Nintendo consoles today, so maybe this one was a bit of a hard guess for you, because I have a lot of Nintendo consoles, but I do play PS2, and I also play on Steam. If you haven't had a chance to play the remake, I would highly recommend it. It was very, very good. They did a very good job. Another great Resident Evil game. This one will likely never get a remake. It's Code Veronica. Code Veronica. And here's Claire and Chris. Claire and Chris. Claire and Chris from Resident Evil. Now, if you didn't know, here's a game for an even older console. This game is for the PS1. It's X-Files. Now, the PlayStation 2 can actually play PS1 games. So if you didn't know that, and you've been missing out on PS1 games, boot up your PS2. And if the disc reader is still working okay, you shouldn't have a problem. This game is interesting because they actually filmed a whole episode for this game, and you kind of play through it. So a whole episode of the show was filmed just for this game. Very strange. Very strange. I really like the sound of that one. That one's probably my favorite sounding game disc. Next up, and the last one, I have yet another Nintendo console for you. This one also has some really nice tapping sounds. Can you guess what it is? It's another handheld console with buttons. see if I can get it. Do you know which console that is? That's right, the Game Boy. Now this is the Game Boy Advance SP. Game Boy Advance SP, which personally I would recommend if you're planning on buying a Game Boy. They're a little bit more expensive, but they have a backlit screen, which means you can see what you're doing. And generally, they can play every game on any Game Boy. The Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Original, and the Game Boy Advance. I personally think that this is the best Game Boy they ever released. But I could be just a little bit biased, because it is also my favorite. It is also my favorite. I have no idea what game that is. I have no idea. It is Spy Kids. Spy Kids. Well, I hope you've enjoyed listening to some console ASMR and going through some of my favorite games with me today. I hope that you're very sleepy now, and I hope that I will see you next time here on ASMR Mimic.